I received a Climapak from Kewl Innovations a few weeks ago as an evaluation version. Usually I don't do product evaluations, and that's usually because there's so few things coming out that actually interest me. I mean, new cases or glucometers. I'm sorry, just don't do it for me. But this little deal kind of did. So I got it one Friday and took it out the next day and used it. There wasn't a manual with it, couldn't find one on the website, so I tweeted that on Saturday and actually got a response from him on Sunday, which I thought was pretty neat, looking at the stuff on the weekends. But pretty easy to fire up. Battery goes in and such. Bad boy comes live, set the time if you want. Then it starts showing the internal temperature, which you probably can't see. They actually, they sent me on Sunday. They sent me a link to the user manual, which I couldn't find on Saturday. But when I read it, looked through it, there was only two things in the manual that it said don't do. Well, which of course I did. The first one was to charge your battery before you use it. I popped it in and it showed 4 bars. So I thought, hey, I'm good to go. The second thing I did was they say don't leave it in a parked vehicle. Well, of course I did that. I went to a movie, saw Expendables 2, which is actually it's not too bad. It's kind of campy, kind of cheesy. I know it's not supposed to be a movie review, but one scene in it was kind of made the whole movie. Bruce Willis is hunkered down behind a cabinet. It's got every action star from the 80s and 90s in it. So Bruce is hunkered down behind this cabinet. He's reloading, and all of a sudden Schwarzenegger comes sliding up and goes, "I'm almost out." And one thing before I go on with this, you have to flash back to another Schwarzenegger movie called Commando. There's a scene in there where he's got he's carrying like a .50 caliber machine gun, and he's got a bandolier on it about this long, hanging out the side. You can see it, maybe 20 rounds. And I swear he shoots that gun for 2 minutes in that movie. And the thing never shrinks. So it's the never-ending bandolier. It was always kind of just a stupid part of the movie that everybody just kind of had to giggle at. But anyway, he comes sliding up, goes, "I'm almost out. I'll be back." And Bruce Willis goes, "You've been back enough today. My turn." And then, because he said that line, "I'll be back," 3 or 4 times in the movie. So Schwarzenegger kind of shakes his head, and somebody hears a shot ring out behind him. He looks over, and there's Chuck Norris running off the balcony back there. And he goes, "What's next, Rambo?" So remember, he's almost out. So he stands up, and he's got one of those automatic shotguns with the big clip on the bottom, and he starts shooting. Actually, he stands up and goes, "Yippee-ki-yay," which is, of course, Bruce Willis's line. And he starts shooting, and shooting, and shooting, and shooting, and shooting. So it flashed back to that scene from Commando for me. It just kind of made the whole movie for me. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. What I did, and I didn't do it with the bottle of insulin. I put something else in there to keep it how cool it was. I left it in the car. Now, that day it was fully sunny, but it was only 80 degrees. Went in to see the movie, came back out. The temperature was set for 77, and that was the alarm level, and it was reading 80 and was alarming. Now, remember, the temperature outside is only 80 degrees. I had another digital thermometer in the car, and it was reading 128. So think about that. That's nearly 50 degrees. So for all you idiots who think, "Oh, it's not that hot out, I'll just lock the door for a few minutes with my child or our pet in here, they'll be fine," you might want to rethink that. So I looked at it, okay, it's learning, and I picked it up like this. Now my hands are really not that big, but when I grab it, I tend to grab it and touch that heat sink. This whole area here is a big heat sink, and when it's working like that, it gets hotter than hell. I singed myself, I burnt myself, I dropped it. It was hot enough, I dropped it. So you might want to think about putting some type of guard there, at least make that area, that edge there is good to grab by, but something to kind of protect people's hands. when they have it, and I realize you need all that air, all this heat sink, you need all that open air around it to make it work right. But hopefully you can come up with something. And I opened it up, and pulled out, what I had in there, and it was so cool to touch. So I'm going cool. So I hit the alarm button. One thing initially kind of bothered me was that the alarm button was actually in here. I mean, I had to pull the cartridge out to just to silence it. But then I started thinking about it. That's kind of a good idea. Removing the clip, it's alarming. I need to check this stuff, see if it's actually still cool or not frozen or whatever the situation might be. So all in all, I was pretty happy with it. I think it's a good deal. I remember a long time ago, back in the 90s, a technology kind of caught my eye. They were called Peltier coolers. The cool thing about Peltier coolers, put on words there, is that now you run a current through it, and one side of the cooler will get warm, the other side will get cold. Now the really neat thing about them is that if you reverse the current, the side that used to get hot now gets cold, and the side that was cold now gets warm. So you can use the same cooler for both warming and chilling a device. So I'm kind of assuming that's what they've done in here, but they've made it much more efficient. Back in the day, when I was looking at it, given that's been probably 15 years, you can only get about 30, maybe 40 degrees difference against ambient room temperature, and it was all dependent upon the size of your heat sink. I mean, the more area you had, the more heat you could dissipate. But they're getting 50 degrees out of this. Remember, this was reading 80, and it was 128 in the car, so I'm going to give them a full 50 degrees difference. So then, I realized that, okay, it's also supposed to be warmer. So I stuck in the cooler. I've got a little mini fridge over here. I keep my insulin and test strips and such in. And granted, it's not a real deep freeze, but I put it in there along with that same thermometer, and the thermometer read 30 degrees. The next morning when I pulled this out, and this read 46. I left it in there for 2 more days. It still read 46, and it was down to its, I think it had 2 bars left at the time. So all in all, I've been pretty impressed with it. A couple things I changed. Again, the grip here, 'cause that's just a handy way to grab it. Maybe some kind of, most of the cases they've shown and advertisements they've shown ads have this inside another pack, a backpack or something like that, which is going to impede the efficiency of this heat sink, and is something that the open air around it makes it work better. So hopefully someday we'll see maybe something that'll some kind of custom case for it that'll grab it, let you hang on the outside of the backpack possibly. So you can maximize the use of this heat sink. The other thing is this cartridge. Now there's a couple of clips that come with it. Doesn't seem that I didn't receive those, but in general, this part seems a little flimsy to me. I think this whole assembly would be much better if it was a metal machined out of aluminum, kind of like the bars here on the heat sink maybe, because it's going to be much more durable. I can see this breaking quite a lot. Now the other thing, and I know you're not supposed to do this, so I really doubt that they'll take much account into this, but I use a Simlin pen, it's basic pen size. I put it in here, and it fits. Now you may not be able to see, but there's a needle tip. There's a needle on it. I know you're not supposed to do this, but I use 1 needle per Simlin pen. They last me about a week, and so it just seems to work. But it fit. Oops, I got just a little bit. In there. Oh, come on, cooperate. There we go. But it fits perfectly, just like this. I said, oh, that's kind of cool. So then I slide it down here. Oh no! I got about a 1/4 inch. So it's just about a 1/4 inch, and again, that's a minor thing because you're not supposed to do that. But it would make life easier, I imagine, at times, especially if you are going out for just a few hours, and you may not want to worry about changing a pin tip every time. Other than that, I've been really happy with it. I've been using it quite a bit, especially and it's been this season, summer was just wicked hot. We know that, so something like this definitely would be useful. You know, I guess I should give it 5 stars or 4 stars or something like that. That seems, I need to come up with something. You know, 4 Strangelies. I'll give it 4.5 Strangelies, because you know, if I give you 5 Strangelies, I mean, oh, they're expecting perfection every time. So I'll take it easy on you guys. Won't do that, but check out the Climapak from Kewl Innovations. I think it's useful piece of technology that can really help a lot of people, and that's my take on it. Thanks.